Ethan Reynolds was a man who lived by structure. Mornings began at 6:30 with a jog through his quiet Seattle neighborhood, followed by black coffee, 2 eggs over easy, and a silent scroll through his news feed. Claire, his wife of 7 years, would usually be in her studio by then, paintbrush in hand, earbuds in, lost in her creative zone. They were the kind of couple who didn't fight, not because they were perfectly in sync, but because they had stopped trying. Their home was beautiful, clean, well-designed, curated to appear like something out of a lifestyle magazine. But lately, Ethan realized, it felt more like a museum than a marriage. The distance had crept in quietly, like fog. At first, it was small things. Claire locking her phone, staying out later than usual. Art meetups, she'd say. New clothes, a subtle change in perfume. She laughed more at her phone than she did at his jokes. She was always texting someone named Jenna. Ethan didn't question it, not at first. He believed in trust. He believed in Claire. But belief began to falter the night she came home past midnight and didn't explain why. "You could have texted," he said softly. "I'm sorry," Claire replied, not meeting his eyes. It was a long night. She undressed in the bathroom, took a long shower, crawled into bed and fell asleep without a word. Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. That night he started to wonder if he was sleeping next to a stranger. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, Ethan left work early. Claire was supposed to be at a gallery meeting, but her car was still in the driveway. He entered the house quietly. The living room was empty. The studio door, usually closed, was ajar. He walked in and froze. Claire wasn't alone. She sat across from a man, mid-30s, sharp jaw, well-dressed, confident. Ethan had never seen him before. They weren't touching, but the air between them was thick with something intimate, something unspoken. Claire didn't notice Ethan until he cleared his throat. Her eyes widened. Panic! Guilt! "Ethan, this is Daniel. I'm leaving," the man said quickly, standing up. "Sorry." Claire didn't stop him. Ethan watched the door close behind him, then turned to her. "Who is he?" Claire looked down. "A client." Bullshit. Silence. "Are you having an affair?" Ethan asked. His voice was calm. Too calm. Claire didn't answer. That was answer enough. He didn't yell, didn't throw things. He just walked out the door, into the rain, not caring that he left without his coat. He walked for blocks, aimless, numb. Everything felt like a dream, one of those slow, silent nightmares where you can't scream. When he finally returned home, Claire was gone. A note sat on the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I'll stay at a hotel tonight. Please don't hate me." See, he read it 3 times, then crumpled it and threw it in the sink. That night, Ethan sat alone in the living room, scrolling through Claire's social media, looking for clues. Photos of them smiling, vacation memories, anniversary dinners, all of it felt fake now. He opened her laptop, hesitated, then did it anyway. Emails, chat history, calendar appointments. He found it. Messages from Daniel, dozens of them. "Can't stop thinking about you. Last night was perfect. When will you tell him?" And finally, one that stung more than all the others. "Do you regret marrying him?" Claire's reply, "Sometimes. I think we stopped being in love a long time ago." Ethan closed the laptop and sat in silence for the rest of the night. Not crying, not angry, just hollow. The following morning, the house was still. Quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, more like the breath held before a storm. Ethan hadn't slept. He sat at the kitchen table staring at Claire's untouched coffee mug from the day before. His mind kept replaying the messages. The man. The reply. Sometimes. I think we stopped being in love a long time ago. Claire returned around 10 a.m. She looked exhausted. No makeup. Puffy eyes. She stood in the doorway for a long time before speaking. Can we talk? Ethan didn't answer, but didn't walk away either. She sat across from him. I didn't plan for this to happen, she began. He was just someone who listened. I was lonely, Ethan. He said nothing. Claire continued, her voice cracking. I felt invisible for so long. You'd come home, go straight to work, or your computer or your phone. I tried to talk to you. You never really looked at me anymore. He finally spoke. So you cheated? I connected with someone. It started emotional, but it didn't stay emotional. She dropped her eyes. No. There was a long pause. Then Ethan asked quietly, was it just once? Claire hesitated. It started 2 months ago. I didn't think it would go that far. But, yes, we slept together. 3 times. He laughed bitterly. 3. That's an honest number. She winced. I didn't want to hurt you. She said. You didn't want to get caught, he snapped. Claire's voice rose slightly. You think this is easy for me? I hate what I did. But I also hate how we ended up like this. It wasn't just me, Ethan. He stood up. So now it's my fault? That's not what I'm saying. No. You want to justify it because I worked late. Because I didn't notice your new haircut. That gives you a reason to betray me? She broke. I just wanted to feel alive again. The next few days were unbearable. Claire stayed in the guest room. They barely spoke. Ethan called in sick from work and spent most of his time walking or driving around, unable to stay in the house. Memories haunted him at every turn. Their wedding day, the vacation in Maui, the night she cried in his arms when her father died. He looked back on all of it now and wondered, were those moments real, or just things we convinced ourselves mattered? One evening, Ethan found himself parked outside a bar. He sat in the car for an hour, staring at the entrance, thinking about going in, drinking himself into forgetting. Instead, he drove home. Claire was on the couch when he returned, knees tucked under her, staring at nothing. You didn't deserve this, she said softly as he passed her. He stopped, turned. Then why did you do it? She looked up. Her face was pale. Because I thought I did. That night he found himself rereading her old journal entries. She'd let him read them. In the early years, her thoughts, her dreams, her sketches of their future children. Now he felt like he was spying. But he needed to understand. He opened an entry dated 6 months ago. I miss us. I miss being seen. Ethan is kind but distant. I feel like a ghost in my own home. I keep waiting for him to notice, but maybe I've already disappeared. The next morning, they sat across from each other again. Claire looked fragile. I ended it with Daniel, she said. It's over. Ethan nodded. Okay. I want to fix this. I don't expect forgiveness overnight, but I'll do anything to make it right. He studied her face. Do you love him? No. It was never love. It was escape. Do you still love me? She looked like she might cry. Yes. Ethan stood, walked to the window. Rain tapped softly against the glass. I need time, he said. And space. I don't know what I want yet. Claire nodded. I'll give you whatever you need. That night, Claire moved in with her sister. Ethan stood in the hallway after. She left, surrounded by silence. It was the first time in 7 years he was truly alone. And for the first time, he wondered, maybe Claire wasn't the only one who let the love die. 3 weeks passed. Ethan and Claire lived separate lives now. She was staying with her sister on the north side of the city. He remained in their townhouse, which now felt like a shrine to a marriage in limbo, picture frames still up, her paint-stained apron still hanging behind the kitchen door, toothbrush untouched in the bathroom. They spoke only through text, brief, respectful, detached. No arguments, no accusations, just the cold maintenance of logistics. I'll pick up the mail tomorrow. Can you leave the spare key in the lockbox? We should talk about bills, but neither of them brought up the real conversation. The one that mattered. Ethan started therapy. His therapist, Dr. Lena Morgan, was calm and direct, the kind of person who didn't fill silence with noise. At first, Ethan wasn't sure what to say. She cheated, he said flatly in the first session. I didn't see it coming. Dr. Morgan tilted her head. Did you see her at all? That question stayed with him for days. One Friday evening, Ethan met up with his friend Lucas for drinks. It was the first time he'd seen anyone, socially, since the fallout. So, what happens now? Lucas asked. Ethan sipped his whiskey. I honestly don't know. Part of me wants to forgive her. The other part doesn't even know who she is anymore. Lucas hesitated, then said, I know it's none of my business, but are you sure it's still about her cheating? Ethan frowned. What else would it be? Lucas shrugged. You've been distant for a long time, even before this. Maybe what happened? Forced something to the surface. Ethan didn't reply, because maybe, just maybe, Lucas was right. That Sunday, Claire asked if they could meet. They sat at a small park near the lake. It was chilly, but the sun was out. She looked different, softer somehow, tired, but more grounded. I started therapy, she said. Ethan raised his eyebrows. Turns out, Claire continued, I've been angry for a long time. Angry that I became someone I didn't recognize. I blamed you, but I let it happen too. Ethan nodded slowly. I've been thinking a lot about that. They sat in silence for a while. Then Claire asked the question he'd been avoiding. Do you still want to try? He looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't the woman he married, but neither was he the man she married. I don't know, he said honestly. But I don't hate you, and that's something. Claire looked away. Do you want to know something crazy? What? I never loved Daniel, not even a little. Ethan was quiet. I just needed someone to notice I was drowning. Over the next few weeks, they met once a week. Coffee, walks, shared silence, no pressure, no plans. They talked about things they'd avoided for years, their parents, their fears, their disappointments. One night, Ethan asked, Why didn't you just tell me you were unhappy? Claire gave a sad smile. Because I thought you already knew, and that you just didn't care. Slowly, a different kind of intimacy returned. Not romantic, not sexual, just human. Two people who had hurt each other, now learning to speak again. One afternoon, Claire handed Ethan a folded letter. I wrote this for my therapist. She said I should give it to you. He opened it when he got home. It read, I failed you. I broke our trust. I don't ask for your forgiveness to erase what I did. I ask because I still believe in who we were and who we might still be. I'll wait. Not because I expect you to come back, but because I hope you might want to. He read it twice. Then, a third time, and for the first time in months, he cried. Spring arrived in Seattle slowly, hesitant sunshine, trees beginning to bloom, and rain that felt just a little warmer than before. It had been 2 months since Ethan discovered Claire's affair. In that time, everything had changed. And yet, so much had stayed the same. They were still separated, still living apart. But they were no longer strangers. One Thursday afternoon, Claire sent a message. Can we have dinner? Just us. No expectations. Ethan hesitated for a long time before replying. Yes. She came over that Friday evening, not to the guest room, not to pack bags, just for dinner. Ethan cooked again, lemon garlic salmon, her favorite, like the night everything cracked open. This time, she ate every bite. They talked easily, surprisingly so, about work, about her new art series, about a funny memory from their honeymoon in Lisbon. It felt warm. And then the mood shifted. Claire placed her fork down, met his eyes. "I still love you," she said. "I understand if that doesn't change anything, but I needed to say it." Ethan looked at her. The woman who had broken his heart, yes, but also the woman he had once built a future with. The woman who had stumbled but didn't run from her mistakes. "I don't know what loving you looks like anymore," he said honestly, "but I think I still do." Claire's eyes welled up. "That's enough. For me." The weeks that followed were slow. They didn't move back in together. They didn't announce anything to friends or family. Instead, they started dating each other once a week. No pressure, no assumptions. They rebuilt trust, one coffee, one conversation at a time. Ethan stopped checking her phone. Claire stopped hiding things. There was nothing left to hide. One morning, months later, Ethan invited her to the Botanical Gardens, the place he had once planned to propose again years ago before everything fell apart. They sat on a bench, overlooking the lake, and this time, he held her hand. "Do you still think we stopped being in love a long time ago?" he asked gently. Claire took a long breath. "I think we forgot how to love," she said. "But we didn't stop." He nodded. And then, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, worn notebook, one Claire had gifted him years ago. He opened to a fresh page and began to write. Claire leaned in to read it. May 6th. Today I decided that love isn't a feeling. It's a choice. One I'll keep making, again and again, until it becomes the air we breathe. Claire smiled through tears. And in that quiet garden beneath soft spring sunlight, they both chose love again. Not because they forgot the pain, but because they remembered the truth. They were still each other's home, cracked, mended, and stronger at the seams.